for combination permutation, you can see now initially diode we have one terminal should be having greater voltage than the other terminal. That anode should be greater than cathode. But here you can see there are three terminals, so there are different more possibilities. Okay, the say I call it one terminal is collector, emitter, and base. You can see there are more possibilities coming right now. So if you take the combination permutation, there are around 6 to 9 cases possible here. So we have to take this systematically. We have to study this systematically to which configuration, which all terminals has to be forward biased, which all terminals has to be reverse biased. We have to understand. Okay, so first of all I'll describe what is a transistor in a simple terms. Okay, let's see the working of a transistor in a simple fashion. Okay, so I always discuss transistors like a switch. So first example I always give is transistors like a pipe. Okay, there are three terminals in the pipe. First is the terminal where water will be coming, input terminal 1, and another terminal is output terminal, water will be flowing out, and there's a third terminal which can control the flow of water, third terminal. Okay, so how the water flows from first terminal, you usually keep big tank full of water and connect to the source of the transistor. Okay, so from the tank I know there is a lot of water flow, there's a water pressure. Because of the water pressure, water will try to flow from the input to the transistor. Okay, so once the water has reached transistor, now the third terminal decides whether how much water has to flow through the second terminal. Okay, that is decided by the third terminal, so it is called control terminal. This is called control terminal. Okay, control terminal. Okay, so this here till now we have discussed transistor working as a switch. Okay, so what is the meaning of that? Now my third control terminal is doing only on off thing. I'm either oning or offing. That is why I call abstraction. But in practical life we are not using the pipe as a simple on off switch. You have different variations of the uh, tightness. In different variation of the tightness, you can say the water flow can be increased or decreased based on the tightness of the tap. Okay, or the switch of the tap. Okay, so we have discussed switch only, transistor is switch, but it is an abstraction. That's my point. Okay, so here in real life transistor we call the third terminal as base B. We will discuss why we call it base. And first we call it collector. First terminal we can call collector, and second we can call as emitter. Okay, so okay, collector, emitter, base. So base we call as control terminal, collector we call it as the emitting or the source we connected to collector. Emitter is where the electron, we can say we are considering electron flow right now, but you can say conventional current it is opposite of electron flow. Leave it. Okay, now I am connecting my pipe or the tap to a water tank. Now we are going to draw some characteristics of the transistor. Okay, now I'm considering transistor. Okay, this is one of my water tank and I connected some pipe through the water tank, and now I connected a tap. Okay, so here I connect the tap here, so you can see this is my tap. Okay, so here I have a source. I said this is my source terminal 1, and the output terminal 2 where I collect my water, and this is control terminal 3. Okay, now you have to understand how it is going to work. Now first I'll do what I'm doing. First I'm filling the water in the tank. First I'm filling the water in the tank to some level. Okay, so whenever water is on, so before that I'll have to put my tap completely off. Getting? I'm completely tap fully off. Okay, my switch or my what do you call my tap. Okay, now I'm going to study the working of the pipe with the tank complete system. So what I'll do as an engineer, I had to do some experiments. Okay, so first experience what I'm doing, I'm trying to vary the tap opening and see what is the water flow. Ultimately what I'm concerned here, I'm concerned about the water flow only here, because my all the working in concern the pipe system or a tank and a tap pipe system, what hydraulic system, I want to understand what is the flow of water. Okay, so okay, so I'm going to draw the study the characteristics of the pipe. Okay, so what I'll do, I make the tank full first place. I cannot study both. There are two things I can vary here. What are the two things here I can vary? One thing I can vary here is the water level of the tank. Okay, tank level, I call it h, height of the water level, h, tank. So what is height? As the height varies, I'll get different pressures of water. Potential energy at height varies. Potential energy equation is m into g into h. M is constant, g is constant, then h is, so h varies, my water pressure is going to increase. Okay, the same water potential, if increases, potential energy will be converted into kinetic energy and water flow will be increasing. The force of water will be increasing, kinetic energy will be increasing. Okay, obviously one thing I can vary h. The other thing I can vary is, yes, other thing I can vary is this tap opening and closing. How much I'm opening my tap, how much am I tightening my tap or closing, etc. So that also decides my what ultimate, my always my focus is water flow. So these are the two things which can control the water flow and nothing else, in at least in this experiment. Okay, so I cannot vary both same time. Whenever you do some experiments, what you do, you cannot vary some height, then tap again height, again do something randomly, and we cannot have a systematic study like that. So what we'll do, we'll fix first one thing. We'll first height of the water level is fixed, of the tank is fixed, then I'm trying to vary the tap settings or opening of the tap. That is one way. Another is, I'll make the tap opening fixed, then I'll vary the height of my water tank. Okay, so these are the two mechanisms we can study the water flow through a tap or pipe. Okay, so right now, let me do the first thing. Let me make the height of the water level in my tank constant. Okay, so what I have done, height I'm keeping constant. Okay, so height I keep a particular height, which you can call it h. Okay, now the h is constant. Okay, now what I'm varying, now I'm varying the tap opening or pipe opening. Okay, and I'm plotting my results. Okay, so first I'll draw my graph. So what I'm doing, i'm going to I'm going to draw water flow. This I call w, water flow, versus the tap opening to, tap opening, whatever you can understand, whatever. Okay, so as I opens the tap slowly by slowly, what is happening, initially there is some part, you can see some part which is lying outside the tap. It is tightening the tap so much that no water is flowing initially. Even when you turn the tap initial part, maybe few revolutions or rotations of the tap, there is no water flow. Okay, there is a minimum revolution required, minimum displacement required, uh, which allows the water flow through the tap, even if tap is fully closed, but there is some water leaking. So right now there is still some water flow through the output. Why? Because of the leakage. So we call it leakage water coming through leakage. This is exactly same as leakage current. Okay, there's always some current in any device, diode or transistor, which is without any potential bias or potential difference or even bias also. Okay, so without any potential applied, still there is some current, and that is called leakage current, like a leakage water drops you can see in the pipe, whatever. Okay, now I'm going to increase my tap opening. So what happens, I can slowly see that initially it was zero. Initially the uh, current flow or water flow here is zero, and after some time, what happens, the tap allows some water flow through some water flow, and this flow will not be a linear. You'll not expect something like this linear. Why? As I'm opening my time, water flowing is linear way. Okay, so 1 minute. Can you hold on, please? Try to understand why this is not linear. Can you uh, can you tell me why? What kind of graph I'll get here? Please see it. Okay, so okay, so I was in a call. So can anyone tell me why this cannot be a linear thing? I think this is a physics thing. So leave that. So what I'm telling you, the graph I'll get, what the graph I'll get will not be linear. It will be a even non-linear. So exactly that is which graph which we get in the diode. Okay, one thing you can say, this is area or pipe. What is our pipe? Pipe is something looking like this, no? It is having a circular portion, and area is pi r squared. Area of the pipe is pi r squared. That is not a linear thing. It's not dependent function of r. It is a function of r squared. So area is a function of square of radius. It is not only radius, it's square of radius. Okay, so I can say the water flow will not be linear, it can be quadratic, at least quadratic. Whatever, that is not our thing, that is physics thing. But I'm telling you, in this pipe the water flow is becoming exponential, at least you can say quadratic or whatever. Okay, so this is actually exactly, if we check that, this is exactly a diode current flow in a forward bias. Okay, I'm telling you, this is some kind of special pipe. So this pipe or this tap is actually our transistor. Okay, so this is one way. What we have done here, we have tried to change the tap opening, keeping the tank tank level constant. Okay, okay. Now there is one more thing. Now I can put the tap opening constant and vary the height. That is another option. Okay, so what can I do? Like, I'll do this second part. Now I'm going to vary the height of the uh, tank. Height of the tank. I'm going to increase the height of the tank slowly from zero. Okay, so here I'm putting 0. So first I fix the tap opening here. Okay, so I fix the tap opening. This is my tap opening initially. Okay, now I'm going to vary the water level from 0 to some value. So right now it is 0. I'm going to vary slowly by slowly the height of water. Now let's see what is the graph I'm getting. And I'm plotting the same thing. Okay, now this is height of the water level increasing. Okay, now this is ultimately water flow W in the y-axis. Now as I slowly increase the water flow, what happens? Initially uh, whatever my water level I putting in the tank, it is easily flown through the output. Okay, so I can say after some time, maybe not initially, after some time, whatever uh, water I'm putting in the tank is going to linearly flow out through the tank, because there is enough space in the pipe, because it is free, because already open, tap is already open, and so whatever water I'm putting in the tank is going to flow through the pipe. Okay, but after some time, when the height, you can see the height here in the top right. Now the height, this is somewhat like saturation. Now the water flow has increased the pipe level. Pipe level is, say for example, few centimeters, maybe 10 centimeters. Okay, now more than 10 centimeter, you can see the water level has been saturated. The water flowing through the pipe opening is not significantly increasing because it already been filled. But still, you can still increase the water level. You can still increase the height of the water level in the tank. Then you still get a slight increase in the water flow. So that I can represent using this thing. Although I get a saturated water level, water flow outside the output, but still I get a slight increase in the water level. So if you see the straight line, there's a small slope. There is small slope. This is a, so you can this. So why this happens? Because the water pressure is still increased. The height is going on increasing on the tank. What happens? The more water pressure or the lower layers of the tank will increase, and still you can expect a more volume of water flowing through the output. Okay, so this is what we call as the output characteristics of a transistor. In the first, we had drawn the input characteristic. That is, what was the first? I'll just draw the first. First, what do we got? The input characteristics of a transistor. Okay, that is voltage, base emitter voltage versus current I. That this is what we have studied, right? Yeah, I think you have most of this. You have you remember about your plus 2 years. What is the basic input output characteristics? Actually, this is the analogy of that thing. I versus VB, and now we are I versus output characteristic VCE, VCE, okay, or VC, whatever. VCE is the correct answer. VC. So what is happening? Based on the variation of the voltage, that is my tank level, water in the tank, that is actually the potential of water, and that potential of water is will be analogous to the voltage applied across the two terminals of the transistor. Okay, so exactly right now I'm going to draw the transistor analogy of the same what we have discussed. So what is the transistor analogy? This is your pipe, this is your pipe, and your tank is, this is your tank. Okay, plus minus. Okay, I got the ground, and now again ground here. Now again I have voltage in the base. Okay, whatever the two voltages, I call it VB, pointed to B, base emitter voltage, whatever, V collector emitter voltage. Okay, so this is our analogy we were discussed till now. So what corresponds to the tank? So this is the tank, this was your tank, which gives some potential or water flow. It pushes some water flow or current flow toward the transit terminals. And what was the tap opening? Tap opening was the, this was the tap opening, which is given by the V base emitter voltage, VB. Okay, why I call it base emitter? Now you have to think like that. So this is the base region, this is your collector region, this is emitter region. Okay, so whenever whatever you apply across the base and emitter, this is base emitter, so I call VBE. This is VBE, base emitter junction. Okay, and whatever about the collector emitter junction, I have another voltage. This is collector emitter voltage, so I call VCE, collector emitter. Okay, so this is our tank analogy, pipe analogy. So I'll just draw this in the side. So we have a tap and some water flow is happening, and this some tank is pushing water, and this is my base, this is my base, this is my emitter, this is my collector. Okay, so ultimately the current flow is analogous to the water flow in the tank is giving water, so the current flow is analogous to water flow. The way we change the tap setting or tap opening is changing the base voltage, base emitter voltage. Okay, the way we change the collector or the collector potential is the tank or tank potential, water flow in the or water level in the tank is analogous to change in the collector emitter voltage level. Okay, so both affects the current flow or both affects the water flow. Likewise, the tap opening and the height of water affects the water flow in a pipe. So here also the change in the base emitter voltage, which is in the control terminal, base control terminal, and collector emitter terminal decides the current flow towards it, current flow inside the transistor. Okay, that's it. You have to understand this thing. Your current is always controlled by two different voltages. One is base emitter, another is collector emitter. So which have more impact on the current? You have already seen that the more impact has been done by the base emitter because it is exponentially rising. So base emitter, that is tap opening, has more impact than the changing the height of the water level in the tank. Okay, so this is one analogy we have to remember. So if you study using this analogy, the transistor will be more very simple device. It's not difficult. Okay, fine. Now I think we can understand what we are going to do with the transistor. Okay, so one thing we are going to do with transistor is a simple in any applications, any analog application, you can see this amplifier. So what is amplifier? Which amplifies your input signal. So what is amplification? Suppose you have small signal in the input. Now I have signal is, this is my signal. Okay, its amplitude is very less. So while passing to a amplifier, which I represent using A, I can increase the output amplitude, keeping the frequency everything same. Okay, so my output should be something like this. Same duration, but my amplitude is much bigger. But you can see this frequency or time period of the waveform is same. You can see the time period of waveform is same, t. Both having same. That means frequency is maintained. If frequency is changing, that means you have a lot of noise in your voice or you're getting some other signal. So frequency means you're talking something, your personal frequency may be 5 kilohertz or 4 kilohertz. If that is changing, your sound is appearing like your opposite gender sound, lady sound, or some animal sound. That is not possible. That is not required. That is undesirable. So frequency has to be maintained, and amplifier, which amplitude has to be improved, or so for example, I can say this input is 5 millivolt plus minus, maximum is 5 millivolt, minimum is minus 5 millivolt. This has improved your output. In output, you can say it is 5 volt, plus 5 volt, and minus 5 volt. So what is amplification? Amplification factor A equal to output by input. 5 volt divided by 5 millivolt. That is equal to 1000. Okay. So this is so now we'll see how to design an amplifier using a transistor. One of the main application of transistor is amplifier design. Yeah, there are other applications like filters, etc., op amps, and all those things. But the one of the main application amplifier. So now we'll see how we model a transistor. Now we need to know how a transistor is modeled. Okay, so we usually use a simple modeling technique in transistor. Like for example, you might have learned about this. What this means, I call this is I. Okay, this is called actually a dependent source. I think you remember. You might have learned in your circuit theory course. I is a dependent source. I can add something more here. Now I can add V input. Based on my V input, my I equal to K into V input, something like this. So what's the meaning of this? Plus minus. Okay, so I'll connect this to the bottom also. So plus minus. So what is the meaning of this? Based on my V input, my current flow is changing. Just voltage. This is called voltage dependent current source. So what is the value of I flowing through this dependent source? I is equal to K times V. So this is somewhat like, you can see a small analogy of transistor I'm giving you this. A small voltage is applied across input, but that voltage causes a huge rise in the current in the output circuit or output terminals, which is mathematically equivalent to a K times your input voltage, and that much current is passing through your output circuit. So what is the advantage? You may think, what is the advantage of that? I get high current. So what? But you should remember, whenever there's high current, and I can always put a resistance across in the output. You getting? So this I call RL. So what net effect? What this current which is flowing through the current source must be flowing through this RL also, right? This also having this flowing through RL. So I'll get a voltage in the output. That is nothing but V output. Okay. So I don't have space here, so shall I write here V output is across this. And what is the value of V output? I into I is the current flowing, I into RL. That is the output. Okay, we know what is I. I is equal to K times V in. K times V in into RL. So this is K times V in into RL. Okay, so what is the magnitude of the amplification? How can I get the amplification here? What is my input here? Yeah, input is V in. Okay, so output there is also a V in, but K times multiplied by V in into RL also. So what's my amplification? You already know, output divided by input. So what is my amplification? I already discussed last example. Amplification factor A. Amplification factor A equal to output. What is output here? K times V in into RL. Okay, divided by V input. So V input is common, cut. This is cutting, and I'll get K into RL. Okay, so this is something I'm just giving analogy only. So although this looks complicated, I'll make it much simpler. So we have input voltage, and this voltage inside the transistor there is some. I'm just trying to model the transistor. I'm not telling that this is transistor going to work like this or something. Okay, so based on the voltage, input voltage, I'll get a current. How much current? K times V, K times V in, K times V in current. This is current I, and this I has to pass through an output resistance. Okay, so what is my V out? V out I can say I into RL, where RL is my load resistance. Okay, because the current has to pass through this also. I has to pass through the load resistance also. So I can say V out equal to I equal to K into V, K into V in. Okay, so K into V in times RL. Okay, so amplification equal to output by input. That means V out divided by V input. Okay, so amplification again I'm just writing amplification A equal to V out divided by V in, means K into V in by R into V in. Cancel, I got K times RL. Okay, so what I'm getting some gain. So this gain is dependent upon two things. One is factor K, which is my gain of my current source. That means I am applying a small voltage V and I'm getting a huge current K times that voltage times current I'm getting in other terminals. And this current is passing to a load resistance, and this load resistance is also coming into my gain formula amplification. So varying the load resistance RL, I can increase my gain. Is this interesting? So I can say my gain is depending upon a lot of resistances, a lot of voltages, and a factor K, gain factor K, etc. So what I have done is I have done here a small modeling of a transistor. How you are modeling a transistor? A voltage dependent current source. Okay, this is a small example. I'm not telling the transistor is the voltage dependent current source. Can be reversed with the current dependent voltage source and maybe anything. But this is I'm giving you some idea how we are going to model the transistor. So this I'm just refreshing the concept of dependent sources. Okay, so dependent sources, what it tells you, it is you can need to brush up a basic what is the functionality of dependent sources. That's it. And dependent sources, whatever the signal coming through, the current maybe it may be current, it may be voltage, that magnitude of that current or voltage is dependent on some other voltages or current in some other part of the circuit. Okay, that's it. The transistor can be easily modeled using this dependent sources. Okay, now you just got an idea how we are trying to model the transistor. That's it. Now we'll try to explain how the transistor is able to get this gain or this is high current from a low voltage. Okay, so sometimes we model the amplifier like this. If I model amplifier is like this, okay, I say what is my input? I have a small input, my output is huge output. So but this is not possible according to conservation of energy. Your input is small, your output is big. Efficiency, you can see calculate the efficiency of efficiency equal to output by input. That is equal output is very huge. That is 10 volt. Input is 5 millivolt, something like so. I have around 2000 or more than 2000 gain. So what I'm showing here, by using a concept of amplifier, is it possible that I can create energy? So it's a concept is wrong, right? If I say that I'm creating something from nothing, that means a small voltage input, I'm getting a very high voltage in the output. Is this logical? Is this logical thing? Who can explain me this thing? According to law of conservation of energy, energy can be converted from one form to another. It cannot be created. Now my amplifier is creating energy. How is this possible? Any comments? Anyone want to tell something about this thing? So that we are trying to discuss something ideal thing. It is not practical, right? Because practical things always obey nature's law. What are nature's law? Nature's law is law of conservation of charge, law of conservation of energy. Okay, any system or a device in nature cannot have more than efficiency than one. But here my efficiency is becoming 2000. So like this is like, but amplifier, is very practical. If you are in a speaker, you're I'm speaking something to you. It is coming through a lot of amplifiers, and in any public uh, function you can see loudspeaker system. So this is not an impractical thing. So here what I'm not showing you, I'm showing only the signal. I'm only showing the signal. Actually actually there is some input extra going into the transistor, which we already call it bias voltage. You can see there's a plus and minus always given to the transistor. That is a DC voltage. But here I was showing you only the AC part, signal part, AC signal input and output. But other than this input, there are a lot of DC voltages going to the transistor, plus and minus, bias, we call bias, etc. That I'm not showing. Actually, this is the voltage that tries to amplify the input to get the high amplitude output. Okay, so what I'm saying, I'm varying my DC voltage just based on my input AC signal to increase this amplitude and give a high amplitude in the output. Okay, so I'm trying to, it's kind of a modulation. You should know the functionality. I'm trying to do is a small input signal is modulating a DC voltage with a very high voltage and giving a very high voltage in the high amplitude in the output compared to the input voltage. So you should know whatever amplification is you want or you desire or you can design a system is ultimately depend upon what is the DC bias or what is the input you're giving into the system. Okay, you can say DC voltage. So DC voltage I'm trying to modulate or vary based on my small signal, whatever. Okay, so whatever your output cannot go more than your DC voltage. That is for sure. That I think you understand. Here I'm saying output is 10 volt. So obviously your DC voltage should be 10 or 15 volt, something like that. Okay. So within that range, I can change my. So I'm just trying to question or trying to give you some question, like if someone asks you if the transistor violates the charge conservation, sorry, energy conservation principle. No, you should know it's no. I'm discussing only the signal part, but there is always a power source or bias going to the amplifier. Now, I want to discuss what is transistor. We already know as a three-terminal device. Let's say that we will P, N, P, or whatever. Okay, either this is possible or this is possible. N, P, N. Okay, so here we can say there's a base junction. What is the base junction? This is a base junction. In PNP, it is N type. In NPN, it is P type. So one thing you should remember is, no, can will someone tells, someone may think like that three terminals here also. Yeah, there are three terminals: base, emitter, collector. Here also there is a base, emitter, and collector. So if someone can argue, is it not like a diode? We are connecting two diodes, P, P, N. So first transition P, N, again, N, P. Is it not like this? Yeah, you can say this is structurally it is like this. In bottom, what is happening? N. So this is N, then a P, then again PN junction diode. So in bottom, is it like this? Yeah, structurally you may find the same, but you cannot buy two diodes and connect like this and get a working of a transistor. Why? Let's see that you understand as one. Let's understand as we discuss again. So one thing you should remember is in the transistor there's a middle terminal is base. Okay, middle terminal is base, whether it's NPN or PNP, middle terminal is base, and we have an emitter and a collector. Emitter and a collector. One thing, see someone asks you this question: can I use two diodes and connect like this and get a working of transistor? The answer is no. You will not be able to get. Why? Because there are a lot of characteristics which goes into the P and N regions when I design a transistor and diode. So diode design, well, diode design, I don't care much about these special characteristics which I impart in the regions when I design a transistor. Okay, one of the main important characters is base region is very thin. Base region is very thin. Okay, this is very important characters in transistor. Base region is very thin. Okay, and right now I'm telling you the characteristic first. I'm not telling how transistor is working till now, but I'm telling you base region should be very thin in a transistor. I'll tell you why, that we'll discuss. Okay, it is will be few. If it is for example it is 1, the other region will be 10, 1 is to 10 or less than that. It can be 1 is to 20 or 1 is to 100 even sometimes. So the base region should be very less in a transistor, that's NPN or PNP. Okay. Another is, now we are again discuss what are different possibility of biasing. Okay. Now again I draw the transistor in different way. Okay. So this is NPN. Okay. NPN. Now okay. Next thing I want to tell you is this is base, this is collector, this is emitter. Okay. Now is it symmetrical? Another question is, can transistor be symmetrical? Say for example, I'm already told you this is a base region, this is very thin, this is a collector emitter. Can I reverse the collector and emitter terminals? The answer is no. This is not symmetrical. You cannot not symmetrical. Okay. So although it is theoretically it is possible, okay, but there are some difference between this end region and this end region. That's it. Okay. So I'm not going to explain completely right now, but I'll soon as we next two classes or next one classes we'll be understanding what is the difference. Okay, now we'll define what is the name state. Name state C for collector. C for collector. So what it is collecting? Collecting, maybe it's collecting some electrons, or maybe it's collecting charge, whatever. So it is a collector, and E stands for emitter. Emitting what? Emitting some electrons or emitting some charge, whatever. Okay. Now base. Base is something which we are not. It is not evident from its name. Let's see what is it. Okay. So now there are different possibility of biasing the transistor. You already told what biasing. So what is a different simple way of biasing a diode? Biasing a diode is very clear. Anode should be positive than cathode, and it will be forward biased. Okay. Another in reverse biased, my diode is going to be off. That is very clear. But in transistor, one of the there are different possibilities. Different possibilities. I can give a high bias here, low bias here, high bias here. Okay, and I can vary the magnitude of these voltages. This can be made higher than this voltage, or this can be made higher than this voltage, or I can, there are different possibilities. That is actually mind-boggling. Is mine, it can give us negative here, plus here, and vary the plus and minus, and so there are, you cannot imagine a lot of possibilities. So many possibilities. I can reverse, and so again I can make it plus plus minus 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 plus. So if you calculate the combination permutation, you can see there is around 208 different possibilities. Okay, 8 different possibilities or more, magnitude wise also. Okay, so we are not going to uh, discuss all things, but in practical, after practical study of the transistors, we can say transistor works good in one of this particular configuration. One of this particular configuration transistor works very well. This is NPN. Okay, what is this configuration? Yes, that is we are going to look at. Okay, one is this lower PN junction. This is junction here. This is called base emitter junction, and the top it is called base collector junction. The two junctions here. Okay, why it is called so? Because I told this is the base region, this is the base region, this is the emitter region, and this is the collector region. Okay, so there are base emitter junction and base collector junction. Okay, so this is where we bias the transistor. So one of the best areas or best regions to work transistor is we call base and emitter region should be forward biased, means forward bias. This is forward bias, right? This is plus, this is minus. So plus is going to the P region, okay, forward, minus is going to N region. So it is a forward biased, okay, and base collector junction should be reverse biased. So I can say this region should be reverse biased. So here, here I can say reverse bias के लिए क्या करना चाहिए? This should be plus, this should be minus, something like this. Okay, okay. So this has to be reverse bias. So if I eliminate this voltage source, what should I do? Okay, so I am trying to do this in the left side. So in order to make this reverse bias, what should I do? I need to give a bigger voltage source, bigger plus over N to make it reverse bias. Clear? This is already plus in the P region, so I need a bigger plus over N region to make it reverse biased. Okay, so just understand that in the region where transistor operate best by experimentation or theoretical analysis, it is found that the base emitter junction should be forward biased and base collector junction should be reverse biased. So that region has a separate name, and that is called active region or active forward region or forward active region. That is region. There is a different regions of operation of transistor. This region where emitter base junction is forward biased and collector base junction is reverse biased is called active forward region or active region, forward region, active forward region, forward active region. There are a lot of terminologies. Okay, so we won't discuss all the combination permutation possible of biasing. We'll just focus on this region where my transistor works best as an amplifier, etc. And we'll understand how this is working. That means internal work. Where are the electrons going and what is happening in the P region, okay, and how the amplification effect is coming using this transistor and how we apply in practical circuits. These are the things we will be discussing. Okay, so right now the takeaway the class is transistor was a simple switch till now, but right now we are going to understand different internal working of transistor, how it is going to amplify something, and what is modeling of a transistor. So whatever we discussed till now is somewhat like a we can say a trailer that is coming, trailer of coming at least 8 classes from now. At least 8 classes is minimum I require for covering the transfer topics, and it is one of the most important. If you are really able to catch the concept of transistor, I think it will be a great, and you can definitely be a great circuit designer. So right now we are discussed diodes. Diode is very simple, right? A transistor, one more terminal is increased, but the complexity is increasing exponentially. Okay, so we have to be update. We have to update so that we have to connect one concept to from one class to next class so that we don't miss the essence of transistor working. Okay, so what we have discussed today? We have discussed today what is a transistor, how it works, taking analogy of a tank and a pipe or a tap. It's simple, and I can control the tap opening. Likewise, I can control the transistor base voltage, and like that. I have a small input signal to amplifier, and I had a huge amplitude output signal in the output of my amplifier. And how this variation is possible? It is possible because my DC potential biasing. This is the biasing. Here I'm showing you the biasing. Where is the biasing here? Yeah, forward bias, reverse bias. So these bias all helps in me amplifying the input signal. Here I'm not showing any signal here. In this figure, I'm only showing the DC. Here, I'm not applying any sound signal or any AC signal here. I'm only giving the base. That means I'm showing the how the transistor has to be fixed or prepared before I can give any signal. Okay. So right now we are not talking any signal. A lot of people get mixed confused here. Oh, where is my signal? Yeah, we are not giving signal till now. This is just biasing. This is not signal. I'm just trying to give some food. For example, when you want to work very hard, you need to have a lot of food. You need a food, you need a lot of things. So that is the minimum thing I'm giving, biasing, making transfer ready for action. So what are these requirement? Active forward bias should bias it. In active forward bias, which is nothing but base emitter junction in forward bias, collector base junction in the reverse bias. Okay, these are the preparation. Now, when everything is done, I can give some signal, and that signal will be amplified. Okay, so we will discuss this in next coming classes. I think if there is some doubts, I can take it right now, else you can put your roll number.